All right, so we're taking a look at Storm above the Reich, and I gave an overview of the gameplay in my last video. So what I'm going to do here, show you a little bit about how combat works. I've worked through a few turns to set up a combat situation. So we're three turns in. I've spent 4 of the 6 available tactical points. The escorts have not yet arrived, so I just have the stack of 5 awaiting the setup. We'll do that when we get to the escort arrives phase. Right. We actually should only roll that out when we get to that phase, the actual setup. I think I'm doing that right. Anyways, they're not going to do anything until the escort arrives. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is I took all 4 of my fighters. I spent 4 tactical points to get them up to high. We went into a high attack position from the tail, taking advantage of using the out of the sun. That's why I went ahead and did that. I also sent some of the FW-190s from the low oblique. We're picking on these 2 bombers here. This one's already dropped out of formation, so we're sending a lot of firepower against 2 undamaged bombers. Doing this because I really want the points, and I don't have a lot of time to play around with, and I'm hoping to score big on this and be able to perhaps go after one of the others. We could have spread this all over, but I want to show you some of the features of attack advantage, and so that's why I've set it up this way. What we're going to do here is we're going to follow now the attack phase sequence of play. So now within the main sequence of play, there's the mission sequence of play, and then within the mission sequence of play, when we get down to attack, we're going to do this. So this is all nested within this particular spot here. And again, lots of page numbers that you can look up to reference things. First thing we're going to do is the approach. We're going to shift fighters from the approach boxes, which are like these. Now this guy here, he's still climbing to high altitude. He's not in an attack position, so I decided to preserve him to follow up on anything that might slip through here and maybe set up my next swarm attack. So we've already done the approach. What we're going to do here, we marked out of the sun for the fighters that applies to, so we don't forget. We've also got them stacked on altitude blocks. That's what these blue blocks are for. So if you're attacking at high altitude, you put 2 blueies underneath it. If you're attacking at level altitude, 1 blue marker, low altitude, no marker. And so that's what's going on with this. It gives a little 3D approach to the system. It's kind of cool, actually. All right, so we've done that. Now we're going to do the engage, and we're going to select each fighter's mode. I'm going to go all out here, and we're going to make everybody go determined mode. Evasive mode means you're less likely to take damage, but I need to be aggressive on this mission, so I'm going to go ahead and throw everybody into the determined mode. Next thing we do is we do collision checks. Any space that has more than 1 fighter, you got to do a collision check. So this is where things get a little dicey. We got to pull a token out of the fighter damage box here, and we're going to see what we end up with for this group here. And I've got Munster and Naken. Munster has a flyer ability, which means he pulls 2 tokens out. We select 1, and these are the 2 I actually pulled. So I'm going to take the no impact. So nothing happens, there's no damage, and because they're determined mode, this marker goes into the element and is going to apply to the next cohesion roll. So next thing we do is for the Italian fighters, we're going to pull 1 of theirs. And we got lucky again, pulled another no impact. So that's good. Ehlers, I think, no, Bar has flyer ability. So he's going to pull 2 tokens out. And the first one's a no impact, so I'm probably going to take that one. These are the 2 I pulled. Yeah, we're definitely taking the no impact. So 3 no impacts. That's very good outcome there. The reason that's good is because some of those outcomes can cause fighters to change their mode, drop out of the attack, and that's going to impact the next thing we do, which is to select maneuvers and check for advantages. Advantages require the particular setup I have here. What I was going for was the positional advantage, and for the Schwarm attack, and for Rot. And so these two here will cancel out hits. The Schwarm will impact, will cause more hits. Each of these may be earned and used once per element per wave. So the fact that I got all these guys into one element means I won't be able to use the Rata, which is when you have two fighters in one spot. I won't be able to use this for all three spots. You follow? I'm only going to be able to use this for one of the spots. Position means they're attacking. You got attackers of the same fighter type. So the FW-190s attacking from low and from high altitude and from different positions, from the tail and from the oblique. And so that's why position applies. And we have 4 fighters attacking in the same element. And so that also requires same type of fighters. So if these guys had dropped out somehow from the near collisions, that would have been okay. It wouldn't have impacted the Schwarm. Okay, so that's the advantages. But actually, before that, we need to put down our maneuver decisions. What we're going to do is we're going to have these two fighters climb, and they're going to roll to their left, which will cause them to end up in this return box, setting up another attack out of the sun on a future turn. The Italians, we're going to make them roll that way and dive, which is going to put them in the low altitude return box on this flank. And for these fighters here, we're also going to have them roll and dive to the other oblique. So no one's going to end up in the nose position, but that's going to put these guys down in this return box. And then we're ready to make this thing happen. So let's go ahead and we'll start with Ehlers. And he's attacking from the tail, so we're going to pull one of the tail cards. We're going to look at the where he's at is damage level of 2. And so we look at the 2 column at high altitude, and he is going to have a... look at the different symbols here. This is the danger value, and then he is in determined mode. So we're going to cross-index the danger level, which is this column here. He's at high altitude, so we're only going to look in this box. He's not in evasive mode. He's in determined mode. Now, he does have the ability. His special ability is to flip over to his evasive side, and then also at any one point during the mission. So he could do that right now, not take a hit, but he wouldn't impact any. There wouldn't be any damage from that either. So we'll go ahead and we'll risk the damage because there's a 50-50 chance that he'll roll, and we did. We rolled an even number, which means that his out of the sun does cancel that hit. So he is safe from that, and he's going to roll away from the fight. If there's numbers in the space, that shows you how many spaces they move in the direction that they're flying and maneuvering. So he is turning, but there's no number in his space, so he's going to stay right where he's at for the continuing fire segment. So his attack is now done. He does impact a hit. He does have a hit on the target, and I believe he's got cannons. So cannons means we're going to pull 2 damage tokens out of the hopper here. We'll probably not take that one. We'll probably take the engine hit instead. So we got to select which one we want. Looking at the reverse side, the other side is tempting. It's 3 hits on him, but there's a 40% chance of knocking this bomber down with that. Unfortunately, we didn't, and so it's only a 0 hit, which doesn't really help us a whole lot. But it was worth taking the chance, I think, to knock that bomber out of the sky. At this point, we can also use Schwarm to impact things, but let's hold on to that for a second. We can impact a hit, 2 different hits. So we can use it once on this bomber and then use it a second time if we need to, or we could use it on one of the others. At this point, I think it's okay to not use it, so we're just going to let that go. We'll go ahead and use Bar now. He doesn't really have a special ability to help him here, and he's going to take a hit, and he's not going to be able to do any damage. But again, I should have rolled the 8. I should have rolled that die for the engine hit. So he doesn't get a hit, but he does thwart the damage with his out of the sun. We're going to go ahead and use Schwarm once here and hopefully knock this bad boy down. Let's see, there's an engine hit. So rolling the dice this time around, and that thing is stuck on high dice. So he is going to take a second engine hit, and that does cause him to fall. So In the basic game, we're going to put those tokens back into the cup, mark them as fallen, and there's no number here for continuing fire, so he remains in the same spot as well. So their attacks are done, and we still have one more use of that particular token. So we'll go up to this one here, and we will start with, let's take a knock-in from the oblique. Now he is going to be attacking from a space that's got a danger level of 1. So we look at the 1 column. He is attacking not from high altitude, unfortunately, but from low altitude. He scores a hit, but he's out of ammo now. So he does have cannons, so you do get a good pull on him. Let's see what we get here. That one's not too promising looking. Oh, that one's better. I say we go with the engine hit and keep rolling that red die. Not this time around, just a 3. If I'd gone with a wing, it would have been more damage if it flipped over. The engine hit only puts a 0 down and nothing else. All right, so he is out of ammo, and he's going to move 2 spaces in the direction of his maneuver, which is going to move him actually 1 and then 2 into this space. So we're not going to take him off the map just yet, but that's where he's going to end up. So next one is Munster. He does have the flyer ability, and I think he's already used that. So he's done with his special ability. He rolls a really, really good card. He's not going to take any damage. Oops, we should check. Yeah, no damage for either of those. He's not going to take any damage. He's going to move 3 spaces, but he runs out of map space, so he's only going to move to the 2 boxes. If there was a 3rd box, he would have moved into it, but when you reach the end of the map, you just stop there. So he moves there after his attack, and he's going to throw a hit at the bomber. He does not have a cannon. So what he pulls is what he gets. And it's a wing hit. All right, and again, we need 10 hits to knock him down with those numbers, so we're a long way from doing that. But we are probably really jacking up this formation, so that's a good thing. We're going to go ahead and use the last shawarma token here. Take that off the board to pull one more time, because if we knock him down, I'd like for him to get the experience. The Italian fighters could still damage him or even kill him, but I'd like for my boys to get the opportunity from it. So here we go. We pulled a wing. So have you the wing? And we rolled a 6 and not an 8. So close, but 4 damage. That's a nice one there. So 4, that's 5. All right, we're halfway to knocking that thing down and killing it that way. So good outcome all the way around there. Lastly, we got a couple more tail shots, again, from high, out of the sun. And we'll take, we'll go for this Italian here. And he is going to throw a hit at him with no damage. Usually the tail position, you get lots of hit opportunities, but also lots of damage, which is why I like the out of the sun feature there. And he's got another wing hit, but, whoops, missed. It's not going to cut it. Only 10% chance of getting a kill there, and only 1 hit. So 6 of 10. So he's 60% shot down, and then we'll get the other guy. And he's a 2, and he's going to take a hit. Now, he's not able to shift to evasive mode, so he's just going to take a hit. So we're going to have to roll a die to find out if he avoids, and he does. I rolled a 2. So, again, out of the sun helped us big time there, and neither does he move, so he stays right where he's at. So that's all done. Once we finished all of our engagements, that's the burst, and the charts on those cards are explained here. Then we do the breakaway. So now we suffer continuing fire. There's another deck of cards we're going to use here. I'm just going to bring it nearer to where we're at so we can use it adequately. All right, this box here has a danger level of 2, -1 because of the fallen bomber there. So we're going to look at the 1 column. They are in determined mode, and they are rolling and diving. So we're going to look at the 1 column gray part of the table, and we are okay. But there's an event on here. Pull a die, or roll a die. If even, place a damage marker on the nearest bomber, which will be the one that we've been trying to kill. And so we really want an even number here. Otherwise, it's going to be ending up on a one of ours. So we've been rolling even numbers pretty well on this mission. So we'll go ahead and pull a token out, and again have you the wing. So I'll throw a die for that, and again it's quite insufficient, but 2 more hits on him. So we're at 5, 6, 7, 8. We're 2 away. 1 more debris, and that would be the end of him. So we're going to go ahead and take this guy out of here, and we're going to put Ehlers into, because he was diving, we're going to take and put him into this box here. I'll put the maneuver token away and the sun token away, so that's where he ends up. And basically, we're going to do this for all of these fighters. We'll roll out the continuing fire, and that's going to show where they end up, and that will end the turn. We'll advance the turn marker. As soon as the turn marker enters the same box as escort arrives, we'll roll out where the escort should set up, and then begin to roll for the different boxes on the escort table, perhaps engage in combat. If an escort marker ends up in the same box as our fighters, combat's rolled out immediately at that phase, and so forth. So one thing that's very likely to happen next turn with all of these, and we haven't even used 2 of our hit cancellation tokens. I'm saving those for some of the other continuing fires. Likely some of these will take a hit during continuing fire, and so this will be the opportunity to thwart a couple of those. But we do have 3 proximity markers. We have 2 fallen bombers, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 markers in here, so it's unavoidable. This formation will definitely go into element loose because of the all of those damage tokens. These will go away after you roll out cohesion. They'll go back into the cup. These stay on there until it either falls or dies. And my guess is, with everything being what it is, this fighter is going to be able to come out high from the oblique and hopefully put the finishing shot on him. And if we don't cause him to fall, riddle him with bullets and cause him to blow up, that would be 3 points. You get 1 point at the end of the mission for each fallen bomber on an outbound or near mission. If they're inbound, you get 2 points per. So that's why inbound missions are kind of cool. You don't have quite as many ops to play with, but you can make more points. On this particular stage of the campaign, you need to get at least 4 points per mission to get a win. I have to get at least 2 points per mission to avoid losing. Average. That averages out over the course of 10-minute missions. So some missions I'm going to do substandard. Other missions I'm going to get super lucky and just cause all kinds of havoc. And I'm also limited as to how many pilots I can lose during a mission, and all that stuff's going to be found on this table and also on the back of the situation table. It shows you what's required to avoid losing, how you get victory points, and all of that. So that's how combat works in the game, and I think that's why there isn't differentials between the different types of FW190s. It's been abstracted into the cards themselves, and it works really, really neat. Again, the attachments are cool, but you got to watch out for them, because if you end up in combat with an escort marker, it's a negative modifier on the combat table, and you really don't want those. So I'm Joel Toppin. That's another look at Storm Above the Reich. Hope you've enjoyed the videos.